Focus on you. What is it that you want? What outcomes do you want to see that you'll look back and say, yep, I did my best. I made an impact. What is it that you want to have happen? Happy New Year and welcome to the first episode of The Pursuit for 2022. Glad to have you here with me. Hope your New Year's off to a great start. Hope 2021 ended on a high note. I took a little hiatus. I had planned on recording on Christmas Eve. Had the episode, you saw the drawing with the apple and the tree. Planned on interviewing Roman and Leo, talking to them about what they thought passions were and pursuing those passions. And then giving them some fatherly advice that my thought was could be shared with other kids and parents could listen to. Well, on the way here, I could tell the boys weren't feeling it, and I don't want them to do anything that they don't feel excited about doing. So we just scratched that episode. Go down to the Dominican Republic to kick off the end of the year for New Year's. I decided late last year that I didn't want to be in Indiana in the cold for New Year's. I wanted to be somewhere warm, toes in the sand, drinking fruity drinks. So we took a trip to the Dominican Republic. I brought my equipment with me to record down there and ultimately decided not to do it there as well. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that trip and kind of how I ended the year and what it meant to me and how it set 2022 off to a great start. And then we'll get into today's episode about what have I accomplished? What does that mean and why are we talking about that today? But going back to the trip, the goal for the trip was to just take some time to disconnect from everything that I've been doing over the last really 6.5 years. I can't remember the last time I went on a vacation where I didn't do some type of work, record a podcast, be on calls, be on Slack. And I just wanted to have some time to just disconnect. And honestly, I thought I'd have a lot of time to create. I thought I'd get up early in the morning, go watch the sunrise, meditate on the beach, go write, and then do the family stuff during the day. And we didn't get up before 10 o'clock, except for 2 days. One day I got up at like 6:50. I wanted to watch the sunrise. I've never seen the sunrise on the horizon of the ocean. I don't know if I've seen a sunrise on the horizon, period. And it was amazing. It was awesome. I don't know if you've ever done it. If you've never done it, find the opportunity. I guess just find a horizon where you can look out in the morning before the sun comes up and you see don't see the end of the earth. You just see keep continuing to go. And then watch for this just amazingness of the sun just comes up out of nowhere. It's so cool. I can't put into words how neat it is. So I did that one morning, and then the last morning there, I made everybody get up with me to go do it just because I thought it was so cool. I wanted them to experience it as well. But the other days, we slept in. And I just decided that while I was on this vacation, I was not even going to scratch that creative itch and try to create content. I was just going to really enjoy myself and the family. So the podcast with the boys will happen at some point. It's one I want to have. I want to do the conversation with them. I think it'll be a great one for other people to share with their kids. So the podcast will happen. But I took 2 weeks off, and here I am back. I'm excited. And much like many of the episodes, the topic for discussion doesn't come to me until something happens during the week. So this week I was having breakfast with my dad. He retired at the beginning of the year, and I'm excited to have him join me at Harmless Wealth as Chief People Officer. And what that role is going to entail, we're still going to figure it out. But I want him to help me with client relationship and communication and making the experience at Harmless Wealth even better than it is today. So we were having breakfast just talking about what that opportunity is going to look like and when it's going to start and all of those things. And we were kind of having a conversation reflecting back on his career. And as many retirees do, I could just see that my dad was struggling with kind of like identity and processing everything. And, for those of us that are in the middle of our career, middle of our lives, it's hard to think about it. But if you fast forward to when you walk away from whatever it is that you're doing and you have done for 30, 40 years, a lot of people in retirement have, some identity crisis. A lot of retirees get depressed early on because that individual that they were, this career that defined them, is no longer a part of their life. And they retire without having a new sense of purpose. And maybe they don't have a passion that they're following. Now, some people are fortunate to retire to something, but a lot of times we just retire and aren't quite sure, and we're just going to figure it out. And that's not always an easy thing to process. So as we were talking, my dad said something that really stuck out to me, and I don't know if he remembers, but I immediately took my notebook out and wrote something down. And he said that as he was like looking back over his career, thinking about what he did and what he didn't do, and he said, it's kind of hard to look back and say, what did I accomplish? What did I accomplish? So that's the subject for today's conversation is, what is accomplishment and is the path that you're on today leading you towards a sense of accomplishment in the future. And it doesn't necessarily have to be retirement. So, backing up, let's define accomplishment. And kind of like I did with passion, I don't want to use the Webster dictionary of accomplishment. The illustration I did is a trophy just because that was an easy way to real quickly have a symbolism for accomplishment. But that's not what I mean when I say this. You need to define accomplishment. You need to know what feeling accomplished will be for you in the future. And I want to stress the you part of it. I think a lot of people, and I think this is probably true of my dad's generation, which is we're going to get to why I think this might be hard for him, but I think a lot of people's definition of accomplishments and feeling accomplished are actually dictated by other people, society, parents, spouses, peers, keeping up with the Joneses, but it's not really their own definition of accomplishment, of being accomplished. So what is that to you? When you get to the end of a chapter, we talked about chapters in the past, whether that is a 30-year career chapter, a 1-year, whatever it may be chapter, when you get to the end of the chapter, what is going to allow you to look back and feel like you accomplished something? And more importantly, you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. Is it accolades? Is it recognition? Is it income? Is it finishing a project? Only you are going to know. But I really want you to focus in on defining your own sense of accomplishment. So when you get to that point where you want to reflect back, you are able to say, I did what I wanted to do, regardless of what anybody else's expectations were. And chances are, going back to following passions and how that can lead to you having success, if you are on a path towards accomplishment for yourself, chances are you're going to be doing your best work. You're going to be your happiest, which is going to lead you to doing a good job, which will lead to other people seeing you accomplishing whatever it is they wanted you to accomplish. So I think it's funny or interesting, maybe not funny, interesting that what I'm learning and what I'm believing now is that the more we focus on the self, our happiness, our passions, the better we will end up being for everybody. Now, I'm not telling you to be selfish and cut everybody else out, but when we put our excitement, our passion, our creativity at the forefront, and that's what we're focusing on, I think that's going to lead us to be better, be more productive, be more quote unquote successful, and meet the expectations of other people, and they're going to think that we're doing a great job. Whereas if we're always focusing on what other people want and trying to meet their expectations, it's going to lead to us being unhappy, us feeling unfulfilled, maybe not hitting the accomplishments that we want and leading to disappointment, and we're probably not going to be operating at our best, and we might fall short to what those expectations that others have for us. And it's different, a different way to think about it, especially for someone like myself. When I go back to my dad, he's the most selfless person I know, to a fault. And I try to put others first and be selfless, and I've seen where that has potentially caused some slower growth for myself or unhappiness for myself. And it is possible to put yourself first without being selfish and be successful and help others and be your best for other people. So coming back to this sense of accomplishment, I want to make sure that as you continue down this pursuit in your journey, is this path that you're on leading towards your sense of accomplishment in the future? Again, your definition. And if not, what can you be doing about it? What do you need to change? Is it even possible? But what I want to encourage as many people as possible, and this is part of my sense of accomplishment in the future in this podcast and this additional content that I'm going to start creating here very shortly. I'm going to be flooding my feed and my social networks and my content networks with a bunch of content. I have a lot of things I want to say, and when I look out at my future self, when I look back on to see have I accomplished what I wanted, being able to put more of this out will make me feel accomplished. Now, whether or not it's successful and actually helps anybody reach their goals, I don't know. But I believe if I do a good job and I'm consistent with it and I pour everything into it and keep on following my passions, it's going to reach 1 or 2 people. It may not be a lot of people, but even if there's 1 or 2 people that pursued something they wouldn't have pursued had they not been listening or reading, then to me, that will make me feel good that I helped somebody reach somewhere they wouldn't have gone on their own. So if you're not on that path towards accomplishment, what do you need to change? How can you put yourself on that path? And again, It might be difficult, but shed the expectations of others on you and focus on what you want, where you want to go, what will make you feel accomplished, and let that be your compass. Let that be your director. And if you do that, I think everybody else is going to be happy with the results. So I want to go back to breakfast with my dad because that's what spurred this conversation, and going back to feeling accomplished. So he worked for almost 40 years in different areas of the business world, management consultant in the insurance world, had aspirations of starting his own business and just never worked out. And, he said he didn't look back and have any regrets, but I definitely think that if he would go back, he would make some changes. But my dad's also not somebody to dwell on spilt milk, I guess. So he's not going to say he had a bad career or be unhappy, but just looking back, I think he would have done things differently. And he told me a story about a young teammate at the company he retired from who was having a difficult time in life and struggles. And, my dad was kind of there as a mentor, but also just as somebody who checked in on him as a friend as well. Pretty significant age difference between the two of them. So they wouldn't be hanging out together. But nonetheless, my dad was there and felt this need to check in on him and make sure he was okay. And when things were stressful at work, be there for him as a mentor and as just a friend again. So my dad was telling him that leading up to his retirement and sharing the news, he told this individual, and eventually this individual told my dad that there were a number of times that my dad saved him, was his words. And he didn't go so far to say that if it weren't for my dad, he would have committed suicide or tried to harm himself, but I think that's probably what he meant. And to hear my dad talk about that relationship and what that meant, like to me, that was like, okay, this is what my dad needs to do more of. If my dad was able to help this individual more, which I encourage him to stay in touch with him even after he retires, and be able to be this type of person for other people, a mentor, a source of an outlet for frustrations, and to be able to provide advice, that if my dad was able to do more of that, I feel like that would be something he would look back on and feel accomplished, that he made a difference for somebody else. So I told him, hey, how do you do more of that? Now that you're retired and you're going to have a small part-time job with me, now that you have more time, how do you do more of that? How do we put that at the center of what the next 20, 30 years of your life look like, so that when you get to this next retirement later in life, you look back and say, okay, the first 40 years of working career were just okay. I did what I had to do. Career, I had some successes. Family-wise, I'm very happy with where things are. Family is successful. We're close. My sister is successful. I'm doing well. We have a great family. Our families get together regularly. Like, from a family area, I know my dad is extremely accomplished. But the professional side, I think there's a little left for him that he would love to see more of had happen. But now this next phase of life, fresh start, new chapter. He can write it. Let's put, how can you be more of an impact on others? Because that's who he is deep in his core. How can he be a bigger impact to others and be there to serve others and help other people when they need it, and make that a part of his routine? And whether or not that there's financial opportunity to that, who cares? Because then when he gets back, this next phase of life is not about making money. It's about having enough money to get by and enjoy life through retirement, but it's not about increasing your income and making more. So how do we put these things that he's most excited about, his passions, the things that make him really want to get up and do good, at the center of the next phase of his life? I have an idea. I don't know if we'll end up doing it. I talked to him about it at breakfast. I thought it would be really cool to add another show to the All About Your Benjamins lineup. You have the Pursuit on Fridays. Maybe doing something with my dad at the early stages of retirement. Whether it's finding passion, finding purpose, easing into retirement, whatever it may be, and just have a weekly conversation with my dad about what is it like to be retired, what's going on, what's he learning, how is he focusing on putting the things that he wants to do the most, putting himself first for a change, in his financial plan, in his finances, and his planning for retirement. I don't know if we'll do it or not. I want to be careful of not using my dad for content, rather than, if he's open and willing to do it, and I think it'll be welcome, using his experience, learning and building in public, to help other people who might be going through the same thing, or people who might be going through that event in the future. So I don't know if we're going to have another show yet, but I think it'd be really cool. I honestly think it'd be even better if it was all video rather than just podcast, but I don't have that type of budget or staff to be able to video both of us driving around talking about things and making episodes, but maybe we can start with a podcast. And that may also be pretty cool for him to document his process. So when he goes back, we have one memory when we look backwards to determine whether or not we accomplished what we wanted. So we remember things one way, but then to go back and listen and watch the videos that go with it and see what he really went through and see the growth during that time period, I think it'd be really cool. So we may have another show coming to All About Your Benjamin soon on a weekly basis, or maybe a bi-weekly basis to give more time for things to transpire as he heads into retirement. So that's it. That's it for today. I want really to think about, are you on the path that's leading towards accomplishment for yourself? Throw everybody else's definition for you of accomplishment away. Not your parents, not your spouse, not your siblings, not whoever it is you compete with. You. Focus on you. What is it that you want? What outcomes do you want to see that you'll look back and say, yep, I did my best. I made an impact. What is it that you want to have happen? And then are you on that path? And if not, make changes. And I am making changes currently, and I keep teasing it, and I'm getting closer to be able to sharing some of those publicly to be able to do that myself. So I had a heart-to-heart last year with myself and realized the path that I was on was not leading to the greatest sense of accomplishment. It was leading to a path of potential regret down the road. And since I was aware of it, I could change it. I could prevent that regret. I could increase my happiness and impact on the world and people. So I'm making those changes. So we'll share those, and I've teased them out there, and I'm excited for what that means going forward. Again, that's going to mean a lot more content coming from me on All About Your Benjamins, more for advisors on Advisor of Tomorrow, and just really, really doing the things that make me the happiest so that I can be the best for everybody else. So it'll be a case study, a living case study you get to watch and listen out if you want to. So I appreciate you tuning in. As always, be sure to like and subscribe and share. I could use your help moving this up the search engine, the algorithms, like comments and like the stars and everything. Personally, I don't go look at it myself, but I know that will help this find more people. So I'll ask for that periodically. But more than anything, I just want to thank you for joining me. And before the episode ends, I meant to start off with this. I have to give a shout out to my friend Michael Baker. Michael is a great financial advisor and a good friend of mine. And this morning, he sent me an audio message. And when I get an audio message from Michael, I light up because I know what it is. He sends me periodically out of the blue a prayer. He records himself on an audio message saying a prayer for me and my family. And I can't tell you how amazing that is to have people like that surrounding me. I actually got emotional when I messaged him back, and I was mad at him because I was getting ready to record this episode. And here I am, teary-eyed, crying on a response to him because of how much it meant for me, for his prayer. And interestingly enough, going back to conversations we've had in the past about wavelengths, part of Michael's prayer, I'm not going to disclose all of it because it's personal, part of his prayer for me was for help with my creativity, which is interesting because the changes I'm making are to allow me to pursue my creativity more. Content, the other things I want to pursue as well, which I don't know where they're going to lead me. Photography, art, music creation, all of those things I want to pursue. And I haven't really shared that with Michael on a one-on-one. Yet here he is, a good friend of mine, praying to help me follow my creativity, which is what I'm doing without him knowing. And it just shows you, again, how this universe is playing out. So anyways, I wanted to give a shout out to Michael and let him know how much I appreciate him and the messages that he sends me from time to time, and encourage you to find those people in your life like that, and then hold on to them. I told him in the message back that part of the shift that's going on is to give me more time to focus on the amazing network that I have. I've spent a lot of time over the years on social media building out a group of people that are amazing. I can't believe the people that I have access to that I call friends. And I'm going to be pulling back from doing that and just focusing on spending more time with these great people in my life. I don't need to add more to it. And what will end up happening, I believe, is that as I spend more time in these relationships with people who pray for me and are very good friends and are there and support me and are my rocks, as I spend more time with them and deepen those relationships, it's going to attract the people that I need to know. So if there's somebody out there that I don't know yet and I need to know them for my journey or for their journey, whatever the purpose may be, they will find their way into my life and I will connect with them. I don't have to be spending time out on social media trying to find those people. So, Michael, again, thank you for the message today. Means a lot. You heard the emotion in it, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate you all for coming along on this journey again. So let's get to this weekend. Wednesday, as always, the video version of this will be on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is on the podcast. It'll be up on All About Your Benjamins as well. Thanks for joining me and looking forward to continuing along on my pursuit along with your pursuit as well. Have a great one.
Second is the internet, number 3 is this rhyme. Before security, my dog had to sneak in the 9. God must be on my side. I had to eat and provide. My winning streak is divine. I told Thali the streets are behind. Don't